Hey, this is Cameron. Welcome back to the Busy Gardener channel. Today we've got something kind of neat. We're going to be doing a video on how to care for young fruit trees and doing a bit of a collaboration with the Daily Connoisseur, Jennifer L. Scott. So let's get busy. Well, this is a fun one. Doing a collaboration. Our friend Jennifer L. Scott has a channel, The Daily Connoisseur, and it's a really cool channel, lots of different life things. Maybe you've even seen that channel, or maybe you've read one of her books. She's a best-selling author. She has a series called The Clueless Gardener, and that's kind of funny. Sometimes I feel clueless, but the fruit is in the pudding in this case. Well, anyway, she reached out because she planted a plum tree and a bay leaf tree, and so I thought, hey, let's get together on this. I want to talk about a few things that you want to do to set your tree up. When they're big and established like this, they have different needs than when you first put them in the ground, and so we're going to talk through a few things you can do to care for your young trees just after you've planted them. Let's take a look at some of those. I've got these two really young pluaries that I just put in the ground this last season, and so one of the first thing really that I like to do is you want to pay attention to what you think your pruning style is going to be, or the eventual tree shape. Now, if you've watched this channel, you know that I like to do the open center pruning, which is like a vase shape where you don't have a central leader going up, but it's more of a vase shape that has an open center, and that allows sunlight and air to come through. I also prune them really short, so that way the canopy, the fruiting canopy, starts really low and doesn't get really any higher that I can reach, as opposed to a lot of trees where you come in and you are, the fruit doesn't start till your chest, and then you have to get on some sort of ladder. So a young tree, how you decide to prune it, or how you think you're going to decide to prune it, this is the best time to make those cuts, because then it's going to develop that strong scaffolding right at the start. So first thing you want to do is look at what style you're going to do. Are you going to cut these down to knee high like I have, or are you going to do more of a central leader that goes up and just gets, you're going to let your tree get really tall. So how are you going to prune? That's the first thing. Second thing you want to do with a young tree is, when a tree is first planted, especially in its first season in the ground, you want to make sure that you have taken off all of the fruit. Now, I cheat a little bit and I leave a couple of fruit on. And that's okay. A couple of fruit's not going to be a big thing. The reason for this is, when a tree is first planted, you want to make sure that it's diverting all of its resources to rooting and leafing and branching. You don't want it to have to support a fruit set as well, because every piece of fruit is diverting resources away from the tree. So as much as it kills you, take off all of the fruit. Maybe be like me, cheat. Like on this pluary, this candy heart pluary, I've got 2-3 fruit on here. I can't bear to take every single one of them off, but you really want like 99% of the fruit off of your tree when you first plant it. Imagine this trunk is essentially a highway on getting water and nutrients up into the canopy and into the rest of the tree. And as that develops, you're going to need to give it a couple of things. One, you're going to want to make sure that you fertilize on the regular schedule. Now, in our orchard, and you've heard me say this before, you want to use a low nitrogen fertilizer, generally speaking. So when you've got mature trees that you don't want to get tall, like the Santa Rosa plum, I'm coming down here and every 2 minutes it seems like I'm trying to bring the top down a little bit. Low nitrogen for that one. But for these younger trees, some nitrogen first 2-3 years, more nitrogen in your fertilizer is okay. You want it to kind of do some of that boomy growth at the outset, so that way you actually have some canopy to work with. So that's one, you want to fertilize. The second thing is, you want to make sure that you're watering more frequently. These trees are more sensitive. They don't have as established a root structure. The roots don't go down as deep, and they can be more sensitive to weather. And so you do want to water these trees more frequently than you would a larger tree. Like those trees, the established ones, I can water them once every week. Really hot weeks, so once every couple times a week maybe. These new trees, though, they definitely do need water a couple of times a week. One way to test that is if you get an inexpensive soil meter with a probe and just come and put it down, 10, 12 bucks. You'll be able to see if it's wet or dry. You just wait till it gets dry and then you water it. But they are more sensitive, so do be paying attention to watering them more frequently than you would a big established one. Okay, this goes for every single kind of tree, but again, especially for a sensitive young tree, you want to put mulch. Lots of good mulch on the ground. You want 4 to 6 inches of mulch. Now, I've got videos on every one of these topics. I've got one on mulch, I've got one on fertilizing. When it comes to mulch, that's going to do a few things for you. It's going to stabilize the soil temperatures. It's going to keep water from evaporating too fast. It's going to, as it breaks down, bring all that beneficial bioactivity into the ground, all those microbial stuff going on, and deliver more organic material into that. And so, and there are a few other things. One, I think it just looks nicer than dirt. So you want a good 4-inch thick layer of mulch. Now, mulch we're talking about is this. You may notice here that this is really, different sizes, and that's good. You want that. That's going to allow air and water and that fertilizer that you spread on top of the mulch to be watered down into the soil rather. So be sure to mulch, 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 mulch. This year I've put in a lot of young trees. I have this Honeycrisp apple. I've got the cotton candy apium over there. I've got those 3 guava over there by the dragon fruit. Emerald drop pluot, those 2 plueries. And so a lot of these tips I'm having to apply as well and pay attention to. The point is, these trees, they're survivors. These things, they want to find a way, and so they probably will even without those care tips. But what you're trying to do is to give them the best shot. It's almost like taking care of a baby while it's already still in the womb. Eating everything that you need to so that it comes out big and strong. And that's kind of what we want with these trees, is that as they grow, we want to have started them off really well, so that way they have everything they need to produce for you for the next 5 and 10 and 20 and 50 years. And so be sure to check out Jennifer Scott's channel, The Daily Connoisseur. I think you're going to really like that. There's a lot of wonderful stuff there. If you've got questions, put them down below. I'd love for you to subscribe. That's your thing. If not, that's okay too. Whether you got 1 tree in your orchard or 500, until next time, stay busy.